G'day everyone, and welcome to Week 8, Governance of Natural Resource Management. My name is Connor, and in this video I'm going to delve into how different scales of governance intersect with my case study, which is mine site rehabilitation in the Hunter Valley in New South Wales. This will include a look into the roles, responsibilities, benefits, and challenges for each of these levels of governance. First, we are going to conceptualize the notion of government scale in relation to natural resource management by giving a simple explanation articulated well in this week's reading. Ryan et al. 2010 states that NRM governance is the way in which society arranges itself to have influence over its natural resources. Ryan et al. Also posits that a key feature of this is the inclusion of many avenues of influence, including government policies, legislation, and community action. In this presentation, I will present how federal, state, and local government influences interface with the practice of mine site rehabilitation. The Hunter Valley is a major producer of thermal coal, with 150 million tonnes being extracted in 2020 alone. This, as we all know, has extremely negative impacts on the environment, both indirect and direct, environmental and social. The rehabilitation of these coal mines is thus essential in returning the landscape to something which has other land use potential. Mine rehabilitation is subject to control at the federal level of government in Australia in the form of approval under the Commonwealth Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act 1999. The role of the EPBC Act in rehabilitation is often to protect specific matters of national environmental significance rather than dictating general rehabilitation at the mine site. Many of Australia's mines were opened prior to the introduction of the EPBC Act, so it can be difficult to implement new processes in these old mines. The governing of the rehabilitation process in Australia is almost entirely state-based, with the New South Wales Mining Act 1992, Mining Regulation 2016, and Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979 being the primary legislative frameworks relevant to rehabilitation practices. In terms of rehabilitation, the role of these pieces of legislation is to ensure implementation of rehabilitation practices to a sufficient agreed-upon standard and to be within a reasonable time period, with this process being supervised by the New South Wales Resource Regulator. The rehab requirements of these pieces of legislation have, however, come under scrutiny, with calls for more focus on final void treatment and more specific and clear rehabilitation goals from the outset of mine planning. Local governments have very little direct influence over rehabilitation works in the Hunter Valley and primarily act as representatives of the local communities when being consulted or consulting a mine company. Local councils such as Singleton Shire Council have lobbied against and for changes to mining practices in the past, including lobbying for job security as mines close and undergo rehabilitation work. Local councils have immense pressure placed on them in handling these consultations with huge companies such as Glencore and Yancoal, and can be faced with challenges in making the wants and needs of the local community heard. As we have seen, different levels of government have varied levels of involvement in mine site rehabilitation in the Hunter Valley, the most prominent of these levels being state government, who dictate the level of rehabilitation adequate for mine closure, the time frame this is to be completed within, and the process to be followed when completing it. Cheers, thank you for listening to my video.